Action Movie Reviews with Mackey, Judd, and Rami.
Get to the chopper!
Yippee-ki-yay, mother...
Welcome in to installment, I believe, 22 of Action Movie Rewind.
You're the record keeper. I hope you know.
I don't know. We're in the early 20s. We hit the 20 mark. We're on our way to 30. And we're staying in the 80s. We did 48 Hours from 1982 last week, which was the first ever Eddie Murphy cinematic experience. Doesn't exactly translate well to 2020 culture with the free use of inappropriate words. And now we go 2 years further into the 80s, 1984, the classic Karate Kid. That's right.
Name a place.
Tournament.
You got real nerve, old man. Real nerve. But I think we can accommodate you. Can't we, Mr. Lawrence?
Yes, Sensei.
All in.
Ask one more small request.
Make it fast.
Ask leave boy alone to train.
You're a pushy little bastard, ain't you?
But I like that.
I like that. All right. No one touches the prima donna until the tournament. Is that understood? Yes, Sensei!
1984's Karate Kid. Newly arrived in California from New Jersey, teenager Daniel San. Almost immediately runs afoul of karate-trained high school bullies. He's rescued by Japanese janitor Mr. Miyagi, who agrees to teach Daniel how to harness karate for good instead of brutality. The film culminates in a championship karate bout, pitting Daniel against sworn enemy Johnny from the Cobra Kai, the cruel and thuggish boyfriend of Allie, that's what Johnny was, and with whom Daniel has fallen in love, and vice versa. It's a love story. It's a coming-of-age story. It's an action movie all rolled into one, and it's the first of a 3-movie series that then spawned a Will Smith's Kid version at some point and a couple other ones. 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, an $8 million budget turned into $100 million at the box office. Ralph Macchio, Pat Morita, Elizabeth Shue, who was just the adorable 80s teen idol, and William Zabka as Johnny from Cobra Kai.
He's great, too.
So I watch this movie pretty frequently whenever it's on. It's like multiple times a year I watch this movie. Judd, it's been 30 years, you said, since you've seen this movie.
Yeah, and I can't decide if I saw this originally in the theater or if it was Karate Kid 2 that I saw, but...
So you may not have seen this movie.
I'm sure I've seen it. I don't know if I saw it in the theater 30 years ago. I'm not sure which one I saw in the theater.
And Dex, you came around like a decade after this movie, so this is a little bit before your time.
It's probably been at least 15 or 20 years since I saw it.
So basically, this is a refreshing experience for you guys for this movie. Judd Zulgad, let's start with you. Your initial thoughts and favorite part, or not, about Karate Kid.
Well, there's a lot to unpack here, because I'm going to acknowledge that this is for its time, and I do not say this in the Gone with the Wind sense, but this is sort of a classic in its time for what the plan was, I think, and what the expectation was. And I think the people going into this film didn't think it would hold up, because the 80s was really weird. There were a lot of things back then that, clearly you watch now and it's just crap. And this is not that. But I have a lot of feelings about this film. I have there's a lot of room to explore here from an actual cinematic discussion of this film. And I would like to start with this one. I would like to start with a Zulgadian favorite in this discussion, which is pace of play of movie, okay?
Oh, yeah.
It's a little over the 2-hour threshold that
there
we
are
agreed to.
There are so many portions to this film that if you brought the raw version to me now and said, Judd, what do you think? How do we take this to market time wise? Because the actual film does not age that poorly. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's still like, okay, I get that, totally get that. And it's not like, oh my God, that is so 1984. How did you do that? But the pace of the film, to me, is dreadfully slow. There's so many things that could have been whacked. There's so many storylines that they hammer you over the head with that are fine storylines. I'm not trying to say that I would eliminate them entirely. But the relationship between Daniel and Allie.
You need that, though.
No, you don't need it to drag on that long.
You need it.
Okay, but
you always
I'm going to
the
give
relationship.
But I'm going to no, because I'm going to give you the pace of play key here that I could have conveyed as a filmmaker much more quicker and to the point. The actual relationship between Daniel and Miyagi. and all of the training and all of the painting and all of the wax on, wax off is a great scene. But that scene by itself tells me exactly what he's doing, okay?
Remember, dear, no question.
Yeah, but
Right, wax on, right hand, wax off, left hand, wax on, wax off. Breathe, in through nose, out the mouth. Wax on, wax off. Don't forget to breathe. Very important. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off.
Hey, where these cars come from?
Wax on. Detroit. Wax off. Wax on, wax off.
But part of it is you need that point where Daniel gets sick of all the chores. Like, what
Right.
are we doing? I'm
But I
supposed to be
could've-
training for a karate tournament.
Right, but I could have gotten you to, okay, that scene, I leave it because it's a classic scene. The painting scene, I could have sped up by tenfold.
You didn't need him painting both sides of the fence and the house.
Exactly. Why did we need I could have gotten this puppy down to an hour and 45 so quick it would have made your head spin.
Okay, so it sounds like the extra 20 minutes for you, and like, yeah, there's a couple things like
It was
I get
painful.
it. I get it. He's in a feud with these guys. I get it. Like the Mr. Miyagi. I get it. Like
Right.
he's drunk and looking.
I don't need Daniel to be knocked off his bike when I already know he's being picked on because he won't shut his mouth.
But did those things overshadow the movie? It sounds like those things overshadowed the movie for you.
This is the first time that I've watched one of these in, did you say 22, 21, 22? That I actually had my finger on the fast forward button.
Wow.
I had it
Really?
on.
No
I had it
way,
on.
dude.
I had it on there. I had the
Dude.
thumb on there because it was so redundant in storyline, and I knew what they were getting at.
I feel like you are you're the Tin Man. You're so averse to any sort of non-violent centric story.
Well, I'll get into that too. That's a whole nother.
Okay.
That's a whole. That you know what? That part of the Tin Man, a whole nother discussion that I'd
Okay.
like to broach. Anyway,
All right, Declan,
okay.
what was your main takeaway from this movie?
Okay, Judd is right. It's way too long. I didn't have my finger on the fast forward button. I did have a nap involved. I literally had to pause the film.
What's wrong with you guys?
I had to pause.
It's not Gone with the Wind.
I
It's
had to
not 5
pause
hours.
Felt
the
like it.
movie because I was toning out. I was like, I gotta go take a nap or something. I can't focus.
Twins games take
It
3
was-
hours for God's sake.
That's fine.
And we don't like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's why I refer to pace of movie.
So
pace
yeah,
of play.
I hit pause right after the balance scene on the boat, and then I went and took a nap from like literally 6 to 8:30, which was a horrible decision because I was up all night last night.
All right, to your
But-
point, I just about asked you which balance scene on the boat because there were multiple. So
Sure.
I will give you
Well, there's
that.
the balance scene
We
on the
didn't need-
pier.
we didn't need multiple balance
There's the
scenes.
balance scene on the beach on the pier thing, and then there's the balance scene on the boat, and then he goes back on the boat. Yeah.
But like even what Judd's saying, like I think there was like even the opening scene, like all right, so he goes from I think New Jersey, right, and then there's
York.
the scene in Tucson where they're pushing the car. Like it takes like 8 minutes for them to get to California, and I just don't think that was necessary. I think they should have just said, all right. Here's this kid. He's getting bullied. He lives in California. He has a tough time fitting in. I didn't need like the 8-minute backstory of the road trip there. The mom mentioning there's a pool like 7 times.
All right, that's fair.
It was
like to go
there
again.
was a lot of
The mom's
scenes.
character is just sort of bizarre to
Can I
begin with.
please have the floor
Yes,
for 1 second?
Absolutely.
The mom is almost completely unnecessary.
It is weird. It's like she's only there to like embarrass him,
Yes.
and I guess you know what the mechanism for her is that he is sort of like he's supposed to be made out to be the kid who's bullied, and I have something on that later as well that'll blow your mind. And so like part of him being like this misfit outsider is that his mom also comes to pick him up, and so there's that part of it. But yeah, her whole character is
the
weird. She
scene-
like they moved to California. She's like, yeah, just like go out, hang out till midnight with
Yeah.
your random
I was a
friends
potty.
in this dark beach
Well,
area.
I don't mind her
a biker gang.
driving him to his date because that shows the differences in culture and class of his girlfriend and him. I get all that, but the one like I don't get is so at the start he gets beat up a few times, right? And he keeps getting beat up, and I get the idea. But the mom at the start is like, "Oh my God, take off your glasses. I want to see your eye." And so we go through this whole scene and then she freaks out. You got a black eye. By the end, he's getting his ass kicked in the tournament, and she's there. Yeah, go. It's like mom was unnecessary.
She's just
Yeah,
like,
kick his ass, Danielson. Yeah, this is great. I don't care if you're. I mean, he can't walk. By his bleeping knee has exploded, and she's like, he's gonna go.
And by the way, the time between because the movie is set it starts the first week in September. That tournament is like the second week in December or something.
Yeah.
Believe me, it
So
felt
only
like it felt that
only
long.
like 3 months had passed.
They
It's
did
ridiculous.
They did a good job. It felt like 3 or 4 months.
I will say my favorite just part of the movie, too, because we're clearly just picking on this in the first 15 minutes. My favorite part is just the fact that a group of teenagers and a psycho sensei is threatening another teenager and an old man. Like, that is the plot of this movie. It's like a bunch of psychopath teenagers led by their sensei, and they're threatening this weird kid with his maintenance man, also pseudo sensei. Like that was my favorite part.
All right. Well, you guys have just dumped all over this in
I
the
have
first
more.
10 minutes here.
I have more.
I've got a page and a half of notes.
And
okay?
I want to say because I have
Not
a bunch
done.
of nitpicks as well, but I just want to start by saying this is one of my favorite sort of bubblegum movies of all time. This is such an easy watch. You can duck in for any 10 or 15 minute portion and get some sort of entertainment value out of it. I think the soundtrack is awesome. When they go from Allie in the early rounds of the tournament, you're the best, Daniel. You're the best. You're the best, and like that whole song, you're the best around. Like the soundtrack is great. Mr. Miyagi's iconic. Ralph Macchio is iconic. This also spun off 30 years later a YouTube series called Cobra Kai.
I was watching stuff about that last night.
Yep, in which they kind of flip the roles, in which like Daniel-san is the one that's
And Allie, they are threatening might come back, but in real life, she's not happy.
Interesting. What do you
She's
mean in
not
real
happy.
life?
In real life, she
Contractual
was
dispute?
No. Elizabeth Shue, evidently for the second one, the story was that she had gone. In real life, the story that they told the media at the time was she had gone to Harvard and was unavailable for filming. She did go to Harvard and didn't graduate until 2000, but she was written out with a mention that she had run off with a football player from UCLA, and she was not pleased that they didn't ask her back.
Oh, so she would have come
And
back
so,
to watch
yes,
them. Okay.
yes.
Or to film.
And I
Interesting.
saw, I guess she's a Red Sox fan, and Macchio's a Mets fan, and Macchio talked about he saw her like at game 1 or 2 of the '86 World Series, and like she confronted him,
Oh, wow.
and he's
Wow,
like,
Rama.
I don't know, I'm basically a hired gun myself. I have no idea why they
Wow.
didn't. But she confronted him and said, "Why did you guys write me out like
That's
that?"
fascinating.
In
Well,
real life.
All right. Well, since we're down this path of Allie,
You see the
and
work I
Daniel,
did on
all right,
this damn film, Mackey?
Since we're down this path, and I will preface by saying I love this movie. This is a great movie. There's a lot of other things to praise here, but my biggest nitpick with this movie, it doesn't make sense that someone like Allie would fall for someone like Daniel-san. Why would Allie fall for some random loser weirdo hothead who just moved from New Jersey? She is clearly like, so the Cobra Kai group led by Johnny is like the cool group of kids, right? They're like the kids who kind of run the school, and Johnny's the good-looking leader of the group. And so she is, in high school sense, she is clearly like at the top of the dating chain or the pyramid, right?
Yep.
Like she can pretty much date anyone she wants. She was dating Johnny and they broke up. And she just like randomly sees this
On the
guy
beach.
in elastic bottom sweatpants on the beach. Her rich family and his poor family and the contrast there. The fact that in front of her, like the first time they meet, Daniel-san just gets his ass kicked in front of all of her friends and gets embarrassed. His new friends abandon him because of that interaction.
That's the weirder one
I
to
didn't
me.
like
He's like
Yeah.
he's an outcast.
But-
so it's weird to me that like she would just be so obsessed with him.
Now-
it doesn't make sense.
Here's what's weird, though. I think the second part that you brought up is the weird part, because his new friend, and then by extension friends, lives in the rundown apartment that he does, right?
Yes.
So like they would hate Johnny and that group. So like why they would dump him as their friend, because it's not like they're rich or something.
No, so but that's to my point.
No, I know,
he,
but-
he is like
but
he's
I'm gonna
already on
tell
the
you-
lower end of the pecking order, and those people disowned him.
But I'm going to tell you, I know exactly why Allie likes him. Because she's rich and her parents are complete snobs, and she hates Johnny now. He is the polar opposite. She's supposed to be 17?
I don't think she realizes that until she's probably 25 or 30.
No. High school girls
It's all
love.
about status when you're 17.
Yeah, but high school
Totally.
girls also love to drive their dads up the wall. And the one scene where her dad goes, "You're not going out with that boy from where Encino again, are you?" that's why she does it, because girls love to drive their parents up the wall.
I don't think it's there's.
I'm telling you,
she's
that's
not
what the
gonna
writing
be
was about.
introspective enough at 17 to fall for a guy like Danielson.
But she's smart. No, she's introspective. She's a smart kid. She knows what she's doing. She's yanking her parents' chain.
All right, Dex has thoughts on this. I know because he was tweeting about it.
Their
hates
entire
this.
relationship is extremely painful from the moment they meet on the beach, which is just like you guys are talking about. Like, it doesn't make any sense why like popular girl Allie likes dummy Danielson, and then like when they go on their little date to the little fun place, the mini golf and bumper boats and whatnot. And by the way, Judd Zolgad, did you ever have any dates with bubble hockey? Because I thought of you the moment.
That's in my notes. That's in my notes because that is my. I mean, if I was not in love at that, I fell in love instantly. I mean, if I was a 18-year-old boy and a girl said, "Let's play bubble hockey" to me, I'm married to her now instead of Dawn.
I literally thought of you the moment.
I never
that
meet
scene
Dawn
started.
then because I got my girl.
Never met Dawn.
Bubble hockey.
And then, like, their date ends all awkwardly because she's the popular girl. So all the boys are coming up being like, Allie, let's go for a ride.
Yeah. So, and the car was being driven. It's a convertible being driven by Johnny and then his psycho friend from Cobra Kai. And God, what a deflating moment. And then your mom drives up in that beater station wagon with wood panel doors on it. Hey, kids. Oh, dude. The worst.
Well, how about the thing where she picks Allie up from her parents' house, and then they've got to pop the clutch or something.
Yeah.
So she gets out and pushes
So
and stuff.
Mom.
But that was actually, you know what? That scene itself was uncomfortable, but sort of like I could sort of see this one.
Oh, yeah.
There were other scenes. It's just that if they had been more constructive about what stayed and what went, I think we could have gotten this thing down to a really good
Okay,
length.
but okay, are you going to keep hammering the pace of play throughout this whole?
Oh, it's a huge deal to me. It's the overriding factor of this film.
It's not at all.
It's the overriding
so
factor
ridiculous.
of this film. Not to mention that you picked the first film ever with no
absurd.
death.
You just said
I wanted the station wagon to blow up and kill them all.
You literally just said the overriding factor of Karate Kid is
the
that
pace.
it's 2 hours and 6 minutes.
It's too long.
Oh, here he
over.
is.
Dex, got my back?
Hot Take Cops is recorded on location with the men and women of sports talk. All suspects are innocent until proven guilty in Hot Take Court.
All right. So, of all the things that make this movie iconic, from the end scene, the crane kick, Mr. Miyagi, and wax on, wax off, your Mount Rushmore of your George Washington of Mount Rushmore is that's 2 hours and 6 minutes. It's 2 hours and 6
It's
minutes.
the 20 minutes that you could have gotten out if you had just come to me.
Oh, that's amazing.
If you had just come to me.
Was 15-year-old Judd savvy enough in the editing room in 1984 to be able to have chopped?
I would have
20 minutes
taken
off
it to an older film type at Benilde and had them cut it down for me.
And even again, just picking apart their like relationship. That
I like how Dex
and I
does
did
that.
this. What was I forget the one I did with Swayze that I didn't like this either. But like his makeout scene with Allie, like he just goes like full succulent mouth right on her mouth. I was like,
He sucks her tongue out of her mouth. I noticed that one. Now Swayze, so the Swayze one is bad because of Swayze's age. Like I could see where a young boy wouldn't know how to kiss, but you are right. Like he puts instead of their mouths meeting, he like hoovers her face. And it's like I half expect her face to be gone, which, by the way, would have made for a great action film if her face had been sucked off.
God, that's hilarious. One last note on the relationship for a second. I honestly just say I can't think of all the different guys that she could be dating in that school, in and around the area.
She could have got a college guy.
She could have. What is like the quality about him? He's a good-looking kid.
He's funny.
He's a good-looking kid. He's
kinda
kind of funny, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's a hothead.
He
and
can play soccer,
He's
I guess.
confident. I'll give him that. He's confident.
He is pretty confident.
He's very different probably in that environment than what she was used to from boys because he's always getting in fights.
Sure.
He's cocky. I actually, guys, I'll defend this one. I could see it. And the fact that her dad hates him and his culture, upbringing, I get that part. But yes, there are flaws here. I'm not trying to defend the whole thing.
Okay, let's spend some time here on Cobra Kai, led by Johnny, okay? So Cobra Kai, between stalking Allie on the beach scene, like Johnny comes up, he's basically stalking her, saying like grabs her radio,
And
right?
she's
It's very
got a nice
aggressive.
boombox, dude. That was an expensive boombox back in the day.
They tried to kill Danielson by basically running him and his bike off that huge hill when he's biking and they're on their motorized bikes.
By the way, that scene too, like he falls too late. It's like you would fall quicker. He like gets halfway down the hill and falls.
Take it up with the stuntman.
Yeah.
And then they chase him down after the Halloween party, and if not for Mr. Miyagi, might have killed him. Cobra Kai and Johnny, did they cross the line from being just bullies, or were they more into like the attempted murder stage here? Like where would you put them on the bully spectrum? I thought they were just a little bit like there was a couple attempted murder situations in that I'm not fully comfortable with.
After they pushed him down the hill, I got the point. And so, like, by the time that Miyagi has to come and kick ass, I was like, but I would put them at probably on the bully spectrum. I'd probably put them at a solid 8 because they did. I mean, before Miyagi shows up to kick ass, they are beating the crap out of Danielson. Like, that was not they said, stop it, Johnny, stop it. He says, I'll tell you when I'm going to stop. And so I'd put him at an 8. But I will say this, my favorite scene in that whole film is when Miyagi shows up and goes full Seagal on those boys. Because that was, I was hungering, and this is going to sound bad. I was hungering for more violence. I wanted more violence. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this. And clearly no one was going to die. So when Miyagi shows up and kicks some Cobra Kai butt, got to admit, I enjoyed that.
Okay. All right. Dex, what do you think of Cobra Kai? What are your thoughts on Cobra Kai?
Yeah, they're pretty aggressive, and I think it starts with their crazy sensei.
Yeah,
like
the former Army Ranger karate champion.
Like, it doesn't seem, I don't know anything about karate because I didn't do karate. I grew up in the school of hard knocks, but it doesn't seem like karate should be attack first. It should be defense first, right?
It's
like
strike first, strike hard, no mercy, sir. Mercy is for the weak.
So it seems like
fear does not exist in this dojo. Defeat does not exist in this dojo.
we are in the reciprocal of what karate is from their standpoint. Because I thought karate was only supposed to be used in self-defense, not on attack mode.
Okay,
So,
if you had to buy into one of the dojo methods, all right? Strike first, strike hard, or mercy is for the weak. You have to buy into one of those. Which one are you buying into?
strike first, strike hard.
I like the second one.
It
sounds like a sport. It sounds like a sports thing. Yep.
Okay.
Up by 10, home run, flip the bat.
I also
mercy is for the weak.
I also believe, even though I've never been in a fight, that I can outrun most people. So strike first, strike hard, and run the hell away. Like,
You've never been in a fight before?
no, not like
Not
no.
even in like 8th
Never?
grade?
No,
Never.
no, never.
Oh my God! In grade school, I was the champ.
No.
I got in a ton of
I was
fights
a
in
tiny
grade
little
school.
runt, but I always made good friends with people that were bigger than me. That would help me out. So that was good.
I
So
was
you,
in- I
but
was
you
in a
never
couple fights.
dabbled.
No,
Like
no.
girls didn't like there
Girls
wasn't a
didn't bully me.
no.
They bullied my heart.
That's my point.
He's like
But
fighting over girls.
but like but like there wasn't a girl that you and a guy both liked, and then you had to
Never.
throw down.
No, I mean, there's definitely been situations where probably a guy, my buddy and I, liked
Hold
the same
on.
girl, but there was never a
St.
fight over it.
St. Cloud State, all the bars that you went drinking at,
Yeah.
you never had a hothead come at you or something weird happen?
I get sometimes a little bit. I guess one time some
Okay,
dude
thank
tried
you.
to like mess with I had one of those hats with the drawstrings, and this dude kept like pulling it. I was like, dude, you gotta stop that, and he wouldn't stop it. So then I told my buddy was the bouncer, and the dude freaking threw him out, and it was one of the coolest things ever.
so other people
lean on
fought
your
you-
strong
yeah.
friends.
Yeah, it's always leaned on
So
bigger
other
and older,
people
stronger
fought your
friends.
fights
Yeah,
for you.
it was
Okay,
great.
yeah.
I would
that's
do that
great.
too. U of M. I had a 6'6" friend with tattoos on his arms
Yeah, I
that
was
would
like,
definitely step in
yeah.
on behalf of the 5'3" Phil Mackey here.
Don't mess with me.
That's great. I work with two real tough guys.
What did one of the other nitpicks I have with this movie that I otherwise love is that, again, the timing of he gets to California on like September 7th or something.
School's just starting.
He's getting bullied, excuse me, all throughout the first couple months. And it's the Halloween party, so presumably on October 31st. So he gets
takes
his
on this.
ass kicked on October 31st.
Girls
okay?
just showered. Remember that?
So now we're into the early part of November.
Mhm.
All right. And in this All Valley Karate tournament, I believe is like the first week in December or something. I think it's like December. The
Yeah, it
dates
says-
it's like
it says
December
in
5th or
December.
something.
Yeah.
So he has 1 month, and he's never done karate before, really. Like he looks at the videos of the magazine at the beginning. So he's really done no karate before. And he spends the first 2 or 3 weeks, presumably, or let's say at least the first week, painting the fence, sanding the floor, waxing the car, painting the house. So that probably took him at least a week, right? So he only had like 3 or 4 weeks of legitimate training for an all-valley karate tournament in California, in Southern California, of the best like 15-year-old to 18-year-old karate kids in Los Angeles.
When does he go to the dojo and the whole challenge happens?
After, like in early November. It was because it was after the Halloween party.
Okay.
So early November is when he goes and the challenge takes place. So he has basically 1 month to train to beat the Cobra Kai guys.
You're
a little unrealistic for me.
bothered more by the realism of the timing. I'm actually talking about the real timing. That's the only place where we differ. I'm just talking. I don't care. I don't care if it was the week after Halloween. I just wanted to speed it all up.
Can we that whole Halloween dance homecoming thing was also really weird. Like, okay, so he goes to shower, which I think is kind of brilliant because it does hide him well, and he's trying to hide from them. But then he plays that great prank on Johnny, but it's not like Johnny never sees him do it. He just like is in a fluster, and then Daniel just like runs away.
I got questions
like
about this.
I was like, dude, I don't think he knew you did it. I had a lot of questions there. I was like, I don't think anyone knew who it was because that Spider-Man kid walks in. I thought he was going to kick his butt.
That's what I thought too.
And then I was like, oh, wait. No, he's going to chase after him. And then Daniel looks totally guilty running away in a shower curtain.
He should have just not run away.
Yeah.
Just casually walk out.
But the advantage. Oh,
stay in your curtain. No one's
but here's what bugged me: the advantage that Danny LaRusso had is he's Declan-like. He's smaller, he's slight, and he's got speed.
Yep.
So explain to me why, as Cobra Kai is chasing him, he like starts to pull up. Like he totally could have gotten to that second fence and jumped it, but he like but they like said, you got to be caught to get beat up, so slow down. It's like that wouldn't really happen.
You needed a second take on that one.
That kid's got. What I'm saying is, it was implausible to me that he would be caught because the one thing he's got is he's small, he's skinny, so he's got speed and the ability to climb that fence really quickly.
I also did not appreciate Johnny rolling a joint in the bathroom, and his joint rolling ability I was questioning too. I just didn't understand what was going on. I was like, this seems a little weird. Didn't seem like the right place to be doing that.
Well, wait,
little tidbit there in my notes.
Wait, he didn't do it right, or you didn't like?
It didn't look. I didn't like his form at all. That's all I'm saying.
You should have been you should have been the joint coordinator
if you're
on
roll
set.
A joint at the school, bring it to the school pre-roll. Don't roll it in the bathroom.
You're saying like they have a stunt coordinator in these movies. They needed like a joint rolling
Joint
coordinator to come
Yes.
in.
Declan Goff.
I didn't appreciate it.
If you had been alive back then, they could have gone and got
you.
you.
I wrote that down. I was like, I don't like that.
All right, Mr. Miyagi. Let's spend some time here on Mr. Miyagi, one of the iconic characters in cinematic history. Okay, so of all of Mr. Miyagi's training methods and wisdom, which one did you guys find to be the most profound? What did you learn the most from Mr. Miyagi in this movie?
What did I learn, or
what did he teach you?
Or which of the mechanisms did I like the most, or think what was the most?
What connected with you the most?
That being a hothead, I think the lesson was this, because Danny is a hothead. He's predisposed to fight immediately. He doesn't think first. If there's 5 big guys, he's going to try and fight them. And I think the lesson was that approach is the wrong approach. If you are actually going to work in the field of karate and become you have to be patient, you have to be smart, and you have to be well thought out. And I think that's what Miyagi teaches you. And plus, he's got an entire backstory, which they touch on fairly briefly. Kudos for that. But he's got an entire backstory of the paths that life can take you. And I think it taught you that Danny's way of just being reactionary is probably not the smartest thing, that you should take time and understand the art of karate and hence the art of life. Wax on, wax off. How you paint something translates to actual fighting. That's what my lesson was.
I liked the balance one because he was talking about this and being balanced.
Left, right, up, down, side to side. Breathe in, breathe out. And no scare fish.
Hey, when am I gonna learn how to punch?
Better learn balance. Balance is key. Balance good, karate good, everything good. Balance bad, better pack up, go home. Understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I think that one was really important because, yeah, he just wants to punch people. And it's like, no. You have to learn about yourself first before you just go out and strike someone.
Yes.
I thought it was very poignant. It was all about your balance and your mental game before you just want to start hitting people.
Yeah. I actually found a website. It's the top 20 motivational quotes or quotes for wisdom from Mr. Miyagi. I'm just going to go through some.
Because there's a website for everything.
Yep. It's okay to lose to your opponent. It's never okay to lose to fear. Mr. Miyagi. You trust the quality of what you know, not the quantity of what you know.
Yep.
When Daniel-san was asking, I need to learn more moves. Well, it's the quality. It's the Vince Lombardi. We're going to run the ball. We're going to tell them where we're going to run the ball.
Yep.
And we're going to be able to execute.
Yep.
First learned stand, then learn fly. Nature rule, Daniel-san, not mine. Never put passion in front of principle. Even if you win, you'll lose. That's good.
Sounds like Herb Brooks right now.
Yeah, it's very Herbie.
Yeah.
More than Miyagi.
Just remember, license never replace eye, ear, brain. Daniel just got his driver's license, and Mr. Miyagi says...
Miyagi gives him a car.
Eye, ear, and brain.
Absurd.
Yeah.
Nice car he gives him, too. That's a big tax hit.
Here are 2 rules of Miyagi karate. Rule number 1, karate for defense only. Rule number 2, first learn rule number 1. Yeah.
So basically, it's all the opposite of what the Cobra Kai kids were being taught.
Yes, which is no mercy, strike first, and just go
kill.
And then that scene where they put they put everyone around the ring or whatever you want to call it, and then those 2 guys fight, and the one guy gets knocked down, and the dojo says, or the sensei says, finish him.
Yeah.
And he goes over and gives him an elbow to the spine, and this kid just crawls back over. Like, what?
You see, that's the Segalian type of film I'm
Give me
looking
60
for.
knuckle push-ups.
If you guys could get Mr. Miyagi to do the rub hands together thing and fix any historical Minnesota sports injury ever, what would you have him fix?
2017 Vikings-Eagles.
No, injury.
No, injury.
I
An
think I
injury
had a
to a
moment.
player.
Physical injury.
Well, then Teddy.
Really?
It's not even close. Teddy. I think I know what my number 2 is.
So
but yeah,
Teddy's
Teddy.
laying on the ground, and he's just writhing in pain. He's got a bone sticking out of the leg.
Yes.
Mr.
Teddy.
Miyagi comes around.
I think it's, I don't know how it wouldn't be unanimously Teddy. Well, who else would it be?
Judd?
I'll go with a different one. It would probably be early in the NFC title game 2009, Favre's body.
Oh, you go ankle.
Yes, because you could fix that, and I don't think Favre throws that pass to Rice and is as stupid as Favre was at the end of that game if he was not completely destroyed.
Okay.
Might be wrong.
I would go, I think it was August of 2006. I'd go Frankie Liriano UCL.
Yeah.
He could do that.
That'd be my second choice.
Fix that elbow. Twins win the World Series.
What do we think that beyond, I guess, the term lower body injury, what do we think Daniel-san was dealing with when he went back out there? Torn ACL?
Sweep the leg. You have a problem with that?
No, Sensei.
No mercy.
I mean, it's for sure like an LCL. There's definitely ligament damage there. I think it's probably possible it's a torn ACL. I mean, he couldn't put weight on it.
He needs surgery, right?
I would think so.
Yeah.
But his mom, who, by the way, was afraid of a black eye to start the film now, is like, yeah, go out there and kick some more ass.
So, yeah, what did
On
you
one
guys
leg.
think? I mean, the improbability of him as really just a novice fighter, and then a novice fighter on a torn ACL fighting the top fighter possibly in the whole tournament, with his teammates yelling things like, get him a body bag, yeah!
And by
which is
the
a great line.
By the way, those Cobra Kai kids, the rest of them, come on, like you can't do better than that. Those guys were reciting lines. I wanted more passion from those kids. Johnny, by the way,
it was only an $8 million budget. Like
Johnny is great. I'm a big Johnny fan, but his friends were like, "Yeah, dude, Johnny.
Okay, here's
enough, Johnny."
My biggest issue with the tournament part is that, all right, these guys are ruthless. They've tried to kill Daniel LaRusso twice in this movie. They tried to run him off like a 200-foot hill.
Damn near 3 times.
And they
actually.
tried to kill him.
The
like,
beach was
end
pretty
his
bad
life.
too.
Yeah, multiple times. So why, once we get to the fight portion, like the climax of this movie, and the sensei who's been preaching no mercy throughout the whole movie, right?
I'm with you. I know
And
exactly where you're going.
Two of these kids are just like, when he says sweep the leg, and the kid's like, oh, what? What?
And Johnny.
And then Johnny, he brings him to Johnny.
Yes.
He's like, was it sweep the leg with Johnny or whatever he said to Johnny? And Johnny was like, I just know if I can do that. It's like, what do you mean? You've been a ruthless.
Well, I agree completely. And the other thing, and I know it's done for the value of the end of the film, after Johnny's been an a-hole the whole film, is he really going to give Danny the trophy?
Yeah, I agree with you on that
That was
one.
a little weird.
It's just like, and look, the one thing that I will say about every film that we have watched is I don't really go in trying to hold the film to, is this possible? Because most of these films just aren't, and it's just fine.
Except for Rocky IV.
But is Johnny really at the end going to be like, you deserve this or something? No, he's an
I'm with you.
a-hole.
Yeah.
And by the way, I was very good with him being an a-hole.
Yeah. The other thing about that ending there, so I don't know anything about karate scoring, but so they're tied 2-2, and I don't even really know like what makes a point, but they're tied 2-2.
I think waist and above.
Waist and above.
That's what
There's a lot of
she-
lower body stuff.
That's what somebody said, yeah.
So it's like, I thought it was like chin and below, waist and above, but so it's 2-2, and a third point wins it. Johnny gets the punch to the face when it's 2-2, and the referee says no point. That's an illegal blow. No point. So they come back and they reset, and it's 2-2. All right, and then I believe this is what happens.
Macchio.
Thanks a lot.
Mr. Miyagi! We did it! We did it! All right!
All right. So it's 2-2, and Johnny gets the punch to the face, no point, doesn't count. Danny gets the kick to the face for the win.
Yeah.
So you can kick a guy in the face, you get a point. You can't punch a guy in the face.
That's a great point. And
I
I
don't
never even
understand
thought
it.
about that, but that's a fantastic point.
I feel like there's either like maybe they're saying.
You
I
know
mean,
what? If,
I don't know what they're saying.
if that kick to the face had happened at the 1:45 mark of the film, I wouldn't question it one bit.
You were just out by that point.
It's the longest around. Nothing's going to
my
stop
God.
this film.
Okay, I have a couple other things that are going to blow your minds. One in particular.
I've got one factoid that I'd like to bring up.
Go ahead.
after
You
get
go
done.
first.
By all means,
Go
yeah.
first.
Did you guys do the Wikipedia search on the ages of Macchio and Elizabeth Shue at this time?
I did for Macchio. I did not do for Shue.
No.
Okay,
Oh my God,
so
no.
she was.
Oh God.
She was, and so this isn't awful, okay? But she looks to me to be between. They did a good job here. She looks to me between 15 and 17, probably 17 or so. She was 21 at the time of this film.
Okay. I
That's
thought
not-
you were going to say she was like 16 and he was 40 years.
No, that's not bad. But here's the thing with Macchio that I've forgotten. He looks so young. I swore to God he was 15. Okay,
Yeah.
he was 23 years old.
23.
What?
When this film came out, he
23.
was 23. I mean, for her age is, I was a little bit surprised, and then I'm like, yeah, that's fine. That's not that surprising.
That's amazing.
Ralph Macchio was 23 and had been in what, The Outsiders the year before? Is that right?
I couldn't tell you.
I guess he was so they brought in a bunch of people for the role of Danielson, and evidently he got it in large part because I think he'd been in The Outsiders, and this was going to be essentially the same character. But he's 23 years old.
The casting section of this movie before they landed on Ralph Macchio
That's
is
what I'm talking-
incredible.
Yes.
So a number of actors from Wikipedia, a number of actors were considered for the part of Danielson, including Sean Penn, Robert Downey Jr., Charlie Sheen. Well, Sean Penn, by the way, was just coming off of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, playing Spicoli.
All of these names make perfect sense, I think.
At the time, yeah, Robert Downey Jr., Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez, Nicolas Cage,
Hey.
Anthony Edwards, Tom Cruise, and Eric Stoltz.
Eric Stoltz would have been that would have been the least surprising.
Macchio was ultimately cast on the strength of his performance as Johnny Cade in The Outsiders,
That's what it was.
1983.
Yep.
And on the female lead side, well, hold on a second. Actually, Crispin Glover was considered for the role of Johnny, but the studio later opined for William Zabka. Demi Moore was considered for the role of Allie at the
whoa.
time. And Elizabeth Shue was cast based partly on a Burger King commercial that became widely popular in the early 1980s.
Yep.
Filming began on Halloween 1983, and it wrapped just about 6 weeks later. 6 weeks to film this movie. So have you guys ever gone down the wormhole of watching this movie through the lens of Danny LaRusso as the villain? Have you guys ever heard of this theory or any?
No.
Yeah. Well, wait.
No, I haven't.
So to your point, I have not. But the guys that wrote Cobra Kai actually sold these guys on coming back through that prism. So basically, the Cobra Kai storyline, they said, was not going to be Danny. It was going to be Johnny and what Johnny has. And they reshot. They took parts of the last scene that hadn't been shown in the film and reshot a couple of things. And actually, I guess they introduced Cobra Kai from the viewpoint of that fight through the lens of Johnny, which is exactly what you're talking about.
So the YouTube series, it really paints Danny LaRusso as like the big car, like in the Twin Cities, we have Luther, and we used to have Denny Hecker.
But he's successful.
Yep, he's the successful, rich car dealership owner, and Johnny is the sort of down on his luck. He's trying to get the Cobra Kai studio back going, and they flip roles. Well, there is a YouTube video out there, and you can just Google like Danny LaRusso villain or Karate Kid Danny LaRusso villain. And it lays out for 5 minutes, like, if you watch this movie, really, you can make a case that Danny LaRusso is the villain and that he cuts in on Johnny's girl. So Johnny comes to have a conversation, and he was a little bit out of line, but he's having a conversation with his recently ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
And Danny just like inserts himself in for no reason, just to be an antagonist in that spot. Then when they're on the beach,
I get that.
LaRusso is the aggressor on the beach and gets tripped a couple of times and then keeps coming at Johnny. And so Johnny's like, all right, well, I guess we're going to fight. Then LaRusso sucker punches Johnny on the beach.
Johnny takes Allie's boombox, to which Danny, who just met her, decides to defend her and try and get it back.
Yeah, but I'm saying...
And actually gets it broken.
Yeah, and so he inserts himself. Then later, he throws, if you remember, he gets in some sort of tangled thing on the soccer field with one of the other Cobra Kai guys, and he throws the first punch on that guy. So he's now throwing the first punch.
He's a hothead. He's a total hothead.
And then, so this all takes place in early September, okay? By the time we get to Halloween, the feud's basically, the feud's kind of over, whatever. Like, these guys have fought a couple times. Danny re-sparks the feud by putting the water hose inside the stall in the bathroom and reignites the whole thing.
Okay, you're going down a path that I absolutely love. All right,
Danny LaRusso, and he's just like this snide, sort of insecure.
Strip this whole. Okay, let's strip all that we know to be true about this film away and go down the path that you are exploring right now. Okay, the person who hates Johnny is really Allie. She's decided she can't stand him, and it's partially because I think she still likes him, but she has decided. So Danny, who is, let's call a spade, a meathead. He's a hothead. He's not a real smart kid.
I would say he's a meatball because he's from New Jersey.
In fact,
he's a meatball.
In fact, there are huge parts of this film where he has seemingly quit high school, not going to school, and then he magically at points reappears at his high school. But there are huge gaps where he's hanging out with Miyagi, and he clearly should be in school. And at one point, he's asked about it.
He's skipping school.
He's skipping school a ton, to which Mom, who was such an important factor in moving him, just sort of has disappeared. We don't know what she's doing or how she is trying to earn money.
Yeah.
But so that's part one. So the dynamic to me is really Allie hates Johnny and wants retribution because she's the one who keeps saying he's going to get his. And Danny is just sort of the mafia hitman conduit to try and antagonize Johnny. Now, here's the other thing about this film that's clearly written in and implied, and then it's what the people who wrote Cobra Kai latched onto, and it's the brilliance. Johnny, no matter what he's doing, good or bad, is peaking. Like, this is his life. Like, he's going, because he's not that smart, that this kid is going downhill immediately. And so, basically, Danny is antagonizing Johnny, who is going through what are the peak years of his life. This kid's got no shot in college. He's not smart. This kid is a pretty boy, but that plays really well in high school. So if you think about this, And that's where the point about looking at this through the lens of Johnny is brilliant, is really, if nothing else, when this film gets done, if you don't feel more empathy for Johnny than Danny, something's wrong with you.
Boy, this is mind-blowing.
Well, like I'm telling you, the film's too long, but the exploration, the exploration is really intriguing.
Boy.
And in fact, the guys who wrote Cobra Kai wrote Harold and Kumar,
nice,
and Hot Tub Time Machine,
also a classic,
which Johnny is in, and they love that guy.
Boy. My mind has been blown.
But think about it.
Great stuff.
It's the
also,
high school film of a kid who's peaking, and that's Johnny.
You brought up the fact that Daniel is basically skipping school to hang out with an old man.
Yes.
It's just a little bit weird. That's another notch in the belt of why would Allie be dating this guy who's just like skipping out on school to hang out with
because he's a bad boy.
An old janitor.
I'd like comments on Twitter. I'd like comments. I think that we can find the reason why is I think that she is a rebellious type. She hates Johnny. She wants to do everything she can to antagonist. She's not a good girl. She's not a good kid. She's she's an antagonist, and she wants to piss off her father,
actually,
and her boyfriend.
You know what she is?
Ex-boyfriend.
She goes off to UCLA when this movie's over, probably,
and hooks up with a football player,
and just like immediately does drugs and gets drunk every night, and probably drops out of school.
Oh, there's bad names about her.
100%. Wow. Yeah, I had a couple friends from high school like that. It's like parents wouldn't let them do anything. Get to college, boom, wild children.
And
Ridiculous.
She's going to show her dad, who deserves it because he's a bleep. She's going to show her dad who's boss here.
Yeah.
And by going out with the guy from Encino, it does that.
Who is your next category here? Who is your favorite character in this movie?
Dex, you go ahead. I've been blabbering too much.
I'd probably say Mr. Miyagi. I like Mr. Miyagi a lot.
He's very wise.
I mean, and there's obviously like holes in every character here since we've been breaking that down for the last 45 minutes. So, and Mr. Miyagi, although it's not a hole, but like it's almost heartbreaking because of the fact like his wife and child died in childbirth. So like you get this one kind of really poignant scene where he's getting hammered in his army uniform, and it's like, oh, there's like actually some like demons in this dude's closet. He's not just all an intellectual reserved man. He's like actually had some trauma that he's gone through in his life. So I think there isn't really too many plot holes with his character and his development. So I would say Mr. Miyagi.
I'm going to say the Dojo Sensei is my favorite character in this movie. Just the over the top, just like he's just a terrible human being. He's unapologetic.
He's a great character.
And he's teaching these kids how to just be terrible human beings and carry it forward in their life. He's a cancer to the society, and he's not apologizing for it. And he's a man with conviction, and I can stand behind that. Not the cancerous part, but the conviction part.
I love it. I love it.
Who's your favorite character, Judd?
Very simple. The most manipulative person in the film who takes her character and runs with it, Allie.
Okay.
Wow.
Elizabeth Shue is fantastic because she took that role and crafted it really well. And I love the fact that she comes off as a good girl, but in real life, a pain in the ass.
So those are the favorite characters. Now we get to the definitive bad guy rankings here on Action Movie Rewind. To this point, the number one spot is Hans Gruber from Die Hard, Cyrus the Virus from Con Air,
this is gonna be tough.
Brad Wesley from Roadhouse, Mr. Joshua from Lethal Weapon, Ivan Drago from Rocky IV, the Russian mobsters Vigo and Yosef from John Wick, Dennis Hopper's character from Speed, Bodhi from Point Break, and Dom from Fast and the Furious. The worst villains to this point are the incompetent Russian military from Rambo 3, Gans and Billy Bear from 48 Hours, Sloan from Wanted, General Hummel from The Rock, and Bennett from Commando. I have a strong take on this because the categories are iconic status is one of our measurements here. And then there's also just like how villainous were they? Were they murderous? Well, Cobra Kai didn't kill anybody, but they tried. They tried to kill Danielson a couple times.
I wish they had. Why couldn't Danielson have had a friend who they killed?
So
I just
wanted one death.
I think Cobra Kai is murderous. I think they tried to kill him running him off the hill.
Yeah.
And if Mr. Miyagi hadn't intervened, I think they would have ended Danielson's life in that alleyway. And Cobra Kai is among the most iconic sets of villains that we have reviewed to this point in 22 Action Movie Rewinds.
So them as a whole are the villain. It's not just Johnny. It's not the sensei.
I think it's Cobra Kai as a whole.
I agree.
Yes, it's a roving gang.
And it starts with the guy in charge, right?
Yeah. I mean, Sensei's part of Cobra Kai.
He sets the tone for kill.
And so I actually put, because of all of this, Cobra Kai second on our bad guy rankings.
Oh, no, that's way too high for me. Sorry.
What's the top 5 again? Hans?
So it would be Hans Gruber, Cyrus the Virus from Con Air, Brad Wesley from. They have to be above Brad Wesley from Roadhouse. In terms of iconic status, they have to be. I know, it's my strong opinion. Mr. Joshua from Lethal Weapon, Ivan Drago from Rocky IV. And if you just rank this whole list off of like who is the most iconic bad group or guy, they would be flirting with number 1.
I'm shocked that you're putting him above Drago. You love Drago.
They are murderous. Well, I had Drago like number 1, but you guys probably had him lower. So I'd have Drago higher. If it was just me.
Declan,
I go 4. I have them 4. I don't think I can put them as high as 2. They're conniving and they're little S heads, but I don't think I can put them. I don't think I can put them like 1 or 2. They're definitely 4. They're top 5, but they're 4. That's what I would go.
Judd?
I'm putting them behind Drago. I can't. You're presuming too much. I can't get there. I needed like if
Drago
they
killed someone.
All I wanted to do was splice in a friend for Johnny and then kill the friend. Okay, and then I'm down with your point. But you can't talk about death. You have to show that you will kill.
All right, I'll take the L on this one. I mean,
you don't have to. We can factor it out.
They're tops. They're right now, so they'd be 6th for Judd. They would be 5th for Declan, and they would be 2nd for me.
So
let's put them.
What's the fallen?
I'm gonna put them then. All right, we're putting them 4th. So you got him 5th. Judd's got him 6th.
Yeah, I think if we. Yeah.
I'm gonna move him up to 4th.
Okay.
Which means Hans Gruber from Die Hard, Cyrus the Virus from Con Air, Brad Wesley from Roadhouse. See, Brad Wesley is like definitely on the evil scale up there, but he's not as iconic as some of these other ones.
I agree with you.
Cobra Kai and then Mr. Joshua. And that brings us to composite score 1 through 10 composite or average ranking. What do you give it? 1 through 10. How many seagulls?
I'll go 6.5.
Okay.
I think it's a 6.5. It's too long. It takes a long time to get to the point. There's holes in it, but there is some iconic moments of Cobra Kai and Mr. Miyagi. There's some definitely pillars here that stand out in pop culture. But for me, I didn't really enjoy the movie. But I'm gonna go 6.5. Judley.
A lot of things to factor in here because I'm gonna give it a 7. I think a 7 is very fair.
It's higher than I thought you would go.
Well, I mean, the pace of film is my main talking point, but it's not the only thing about this film. I think a 7 is fair.
Okay.
So I'm giving it an 8. I like this. I mean, It's been clear since the get-go that
I was going to say,
I've enjoyed this
that's
movie
fine.
more than you guys.
That's fine,
That's
too.
fine. Yeah.
Like, I've got no problem. The thing that's fun about this entire thing to me is we all approach films from different time periods and expectations.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the fun of the actual ranking.
It really is. Like, we're definitely from 3 different generations in part. I mean Declan kind of grew up in the 2000s.
Yeah.
I grew up in the 90s. Judd grew up in the 70s and the 80s. And Karate Kid, I grew up on Karate Kid. I grew up on Ghostbusters. All those movies from like the mid-late 80s.
And those came out when I was like
Batman.
15. So I sort of did, but you grew up like those were your first influences.
Yes.
As films.
So that gives it a 7.2, which puts it, I'll just read the list here. So the number 1 movie we have reviewed, 10 across the board, is Die Hard, followed by John Wick, Commando, The Fast and the Furious, The Expendables, Roadhouse, Hard to Kill, Rocky IV, Independence Day, Point Break, Lethal Weapon, Casino Royale, and then Karate Kid, ahead of Speed, Out for Justice, and Con Air. The worst movies we have reviewed to this point in Action Movie Rewind from the bottom up are Bloodsport, Wanted, Rambo 3, Air Force One, and 48 Hours. There it is.
Solid list.
So, Declan is going to be on vacation next week, so it's just going to be a Mackey and Judd edition of Action Movie Rewind. So it was Declan's turn to pick a movie this week, but we're going to flip-flop you guys.
Yep.
So Declan can pick and then review his movie.
I'm going to pick a film here that I know Declan would absolutely hate. And Phil, I'm going to have to rely on you to be... This is not a film that I necessarily think is great, but it is a great action movie character. And I'm hoping it's available because it's really old, but it should be.
Wow.
I'd like to pick the original 1974 Death Wish with Charles Bronson.
Wow.
The original Death Wish, which spawned I love the Death Wish series. And we're also bouncing back from no death to nothing but death.
So this is our oldest one that we've reviewed.
Yes.
Now, they did
They
do a
redid
remake
it,
of this, right?
but let's try and find the Bronson one. And I just called up the Wikipedia page for this film and saw that it was criticized for its amount of violence.
Wait,
basically,
Jeff Goldblum was in this movie?
No. I think that's. Oh yes, he was. He's a bad guy. I think he gets killed pretty quickly. Yes.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. Yeah.
Yes. This is 1974, July. Charles Bronson. A lot of just character actors at that time.
Love it. All right, let's do it.
But I think it'd be
I've
fun.
never seen it.
I think it would. I think Dex would hate it, but Bronson himself is an iconic character, and this is the character that he developed.
All right, I'm here for it. I'm here
So
for it. We're going
let's
old
try
school.
and find it. Go old school, and it's pretty quick. So
then
if you
next-
don't like it, it's gonna be done.
Next Friday, do I need to pop in to give? Because I have a list of 3 great movies I was going to bring to the table. I didn't realize.
Or
this
just
till
send
last
Why
Phil-
night.
don't you just
send Phil a note or something.
Yeah, well, you can. Yeah, you can just tell me which one, and then we'll bring it up. And if you wanted to like record an explanation for why you're picking the movie, you
I'll
can put
have
that
to
on the
do
button
that.
bar.
I'm gonna have to do that.
Of course, you'll do that.
All right, that's a wrap on this episode of Mackey and Judd and Action Movie Rewind. We appreciate